this review, I bought the Blu-ray for this movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and I'm gonna say already, I love this film. Go watch it. Turn off this fucking review, either buy the Blu-ray like I fucking did, or find it on some streaming service. It deserved winner of Best Animated Feature. The one time the Oscars got it right. It's the best Spider-Man movie. One of the best animated movies I have ever seen. Go watch this. It's great. Oh yeah, I forgot. I actually have to do a review. But no, this movie is great. Anyways, so what's up everyone out there? Welcome back to the Phantoms Fan YouTube channel. I am back with another review, and obviously this review is on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, released in 2018. Obviously, I think very positively about this film, and that intro thing that I just did was mainly because I want you guys to all go watch this. Yet again, I'm saying, go watch this. Don't even come back to this review. Go watch this. It's fucking great. If you want to come back, I would really appreciate that. See my opinion on it. Anyways, so the basic plot of this film is that Miles Morales, is in New York and Spider-Man exists, and unfortunately, to certain events, these are minor spoilers, I guess, Spider-Man dies, and then he is told by Miles is told by Peter Parker to solve the problem that then causes other spider people to arrive from other universes, and you get one of the most funny, creative, gorgeous animated films to come out of the last decade. Obviously, this thing won Best Academy Award for Best Animated Feature in 2018 or 2019. I don't know how the fucking Oscars work. Please don't judge me. But when I found out that happened, I was so happy. I saw this bitch in theaters. And you know what? It was fucking phenomenal seeing that shit in theaters. It was so fucking good. I was so happy seeing it. I'm really disappointed for the people who haven't seen it in theaters, because seeing this in the theater with how gorgeous the animation is just phenomenal. Still, though, on a home screen, we also have a big living room TV. Not saying like it's a projector or anything like that. I'm saying it's just home TVs are really big now, so that's why it still looks so good. Before I even get into all the good story stuff about this movie, I want to talk about the fucking animation. It is just phenomenal. It combines hand-drawn and CG images together, makes it look such like a comic book. It is so phenomenal. It captures the essence of the Spider-Man comics, which I haven't even read that much, but I've seen them, and I'm like, yes, this captures it. The little lines for the spider sense, all of the beautiful colors, and the fact that you can see, like, dots like it's a comic book, and each of the frames could be a comic book in itself. That's just so fucking fantastic, and it animated still looks so good. All the swinging around scenes, all the beautiful colors, especially in the climax of this, looks so goddamn good. It's an eye gore to look at. It's just beautiful to look at. It is so fantastic. And then there's little nuances, like they'll add in freeze frames of like lookout and other images, or when a guy gets hit by a bagel, it says bagel. That's so smart and captures the essence of Spider-Man. And one of my favorite little tidbits that I've learned about this movie is that Miles, this film is animated at 24 frames per second, like most animated films, but Miles, our main character, who starts off as not as good Spider-Man, but he gets trained by Spider-Man from other realities, he starts off being animated at like 12 frames per second, but as he becomes better and a more refined Spider-Man, it gets upped into 24 frames per second, which is such a good story detail. And now you can tell that in every scene, there's all these little nods and jokes that you can tell that they put so much love and care into this fucking film. But the animation is only one great part of this film. let's talk about the story and the characters. Wait, also the action, phenomenally captured. It's so fast, but it's so easy to tell what's going on. The punches feel like they impact. It is just so good, especially scenes with the Prowler and stuff like that. You feel so intense when the Prowler shows up, especially in a later scene. It is just so well captured by the film. Okay, now we'll get into character moments. As I said, I'm going to talk about my opinions on the Tom Holland trilogy. Obviously, I did a review of No Way Home. And obviously, I liked that film. It does a lot of things similar to this, but I still think this is better. And I know everybody's like, what do you mean they took the idea from the other movies? And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. This still is better. It may just even be a personal preference, but I still think that this film is better than the Far From No Way Home. Sorry if I'm gonna insult people by that opinion, but it's just my straight opinion. Animated movies can be on the same level as live action. But no, as I said, um I felt like in the first Tom Holland movies, and I think I talked about this in my No Way Home review, he didn't feel like he had motivation, in my opinion. In the second one, you get it, and especially in the third one, it really develops his character very well and gives him motivation. But in the first two, I feel like it was a bit shoddy that, oh, I want to impress Iron Man. But then the fact that, like, they turned Iron Man into Uncle Ben, I think that works very well with what they did with that. But it still felt shoddy to me. This movie does something completely different. It does not hit the same beats, something like the Tom Holland movies did, which was fine. They did not have to hit the same beats like Amazing Spider-Man and Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, which is completely fine. This movie tells 5 Spider people backstories, but yet all of them are so unique and funny that you're interested in them immediately. And there are so many heartfelt moments between the two mains, which is Miles Morales and Peter B. Parker, not the one from Miles' universe, from a different universe. And I love the portrayal of that because he's not a teenager, and I'm fine with them doing the teenage Spider-Man. It's the relatable thing, but I always question what a Spider-Man would look like. You get this in this movie, even though he's a bit fat and overweight. That plays into the comedy, which is also fantastic in this movie. So many jokes made me laugh, from the visual animations and to like self nods to other stuff. It's just hilarious. But yet they can still make it blend all together with a very good emotional core at the edge of the film. Miles' journey from not a good Spider-Man to an amazing Spider-Man, oh fucking god, I didn't mean to do that, is so good. And then he helps the other characters progress. He helps Spider-Gwen progress with what happens with her backstory. He helps Peter B. Parker, the main Spider-Man that's with him throughout the film, progress with his problems that he's experiencing. I such enjoy that, and they do such a creative idea with bringing the other Spider-Men into this universe to have our Spider-Man taught that. Yet, they did that well in No Way Home, don't get me wrong. But this came out first, and I still think this does it a bit better. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's very well done in No Way Home. I still think this is better. And obviously, I'm reviewing this because the sequel of it is coming out later this year, which I am so fucking pumped for. But no, there's a good emotional core in the film, not because he gave his Peter Parker asked with his dying words to tell Miles Morales to save the world and everything like that. And yet you get that, and you understand his struggles of everybody pushing him and how he has to do this. And yet it still works so well together, and especially because there's other things that really drive his character later on. Not to give huge spoilers, but something happens to a family member of his, and that really pushes him to do that. And the villain in this movie is also so well characterized. Kingpin, I think voiced by Liev Schreiber. Well, I don't think that he's the most engaging villain. His backstory is very well done. His design is funny, but I feel like that almost brings back of how serious the character is depicted in this. He is so angry and pissed, and you see that in his backstory, which was his fault and his doing, but it's a very good backstory and makes sense why he would be driving the plot in the ways that it drives. Then all the other villains are just fun. They're not necessarily the most interesting of characters, but I like what they do with Doc Ock and Scorpion in this. They really change up the characters from what I know them as. I like the redesign of Doc Ock, and I like the reveal they do of her. Of them. Damn it, I didn't want to spoil it. Watch the film. I told you guys that before. I'm spoiling a little bit. And then you get Miles' journey as he progresses, and then the whole, like, you don't know, it's a leap of faith, which rounds back to Peter B. Parker, the Spider-Man he's with throughout the film, in such an amazing way. And obviously, I said, it's hilarious. It's fucking funny. And this movie has a pig Spider-Man, a 1930s Spider-Man voiced by Nicolas Cage, who's goddamn hilarious and perfectly casted in this movie. I could not ask for a better cast for Spider-Man Noir than Nicolas Cage. But then you have an anime one, which, like, it's jokey, you know, they make the anime jokes, but they make it all blend. Same thing with the cartoon Pig Spider-Man. You still get... there's still, like, this emotional moment that happens with her and her, like, robot that she has, and I was like, aw, and the fact that this movie that makes fun of this kind of animation style but still manages to incorporate it into a serious way, I'm like, well fucking done. And the fact that I know what's gonna happen, this is like my 5th time seeing this film, and yet I was still on the edge of my seat in some scenes, especially with the climax and the scene with the Prowler, who... I love the score that they do with the Prowler. The music in the film is also just fantastic. The musical choices they choose for something. What's Up Danger in the scene where Miles finally overconquers himself and becomes Spider-Man is such a good pick. And the animation in that scene is also phenomenal. The characters are super expressive. And as I said, with Kingpin, the villain, his motivation, I feel like, works, but I almost feel like they needed to add a bit of levity to the character and make him a bit more entertaining. Not saying, I feel like I understand why they did this. They made him like an unstoppable force in this, which I'm fine with. It really works for the intimidation factor and, like, the unstoppable odds that Miles has to progress through, which is fine. Obviously, I think this film is fucking phenomenal. The musical choices alone are great. The Prowler's score, it's like a ramping, like, speed motion, and especially with how the Prowler is animated and acts in this film. I didn't even know who the fuck the Prowler was before this, but now I'm actually interested in that because of how fucking cool he is in this film. He's, like, super fast and dangerous. I just feel like he's a fucking cheetah. Like, if he catches up to you, you're fucked. But then it relates back to Miles in a different connection that I don't want to spoil and stuff like that. And all these spider characters are so interesting to see, and they tell backstories of each other. And the movie still jives together and works, where I felt like some Spider-Man movies where they try to tell the same story again, I'm just like, I'm sick of seeing this. I want to change up, which they did in Tom Holland. I'll give them that. They did something different in that, and I give them the credit for that. But in this, they managed to tell the story again, but in such a creative and interesting way, but still capturing the real heart of Spider-Man, that I just think that this is the best Spider-Man film. I definitely 100% recommend that you go and watch this fucking film. It is worth the time. It is a thrill ride from the beginning to the end. All of it is so well done. The team who worked on this is fucking great and amazing, and I cannot wait for Across the Spider-Verse. I am more hyped for that than anything else that comes out this year. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe down below. And yeah, go watch the film. My final thoughts. Oh, and share your thoughts, but they better be good. Nah, it's fine.